Good afternoon, good evening, and good day. The sound is going to sound a little different because for some reason, well, I know what reason, the computer decided to use different devices. It had tried to use a camera that didn't exist, and then audio devices that are built into the laptop. So stand by. Microphone, check, check, one, two. Photo decided that the face was art, art canvas. Moto. There you go. Okay, so let's get this thing working. I know my video's choppy. All right, bye. Down. All right, let's see. Check, check, check. All right. 1 2 check. Okay, I hear it. All right, so the chat is the only thing left to check, and then I guess the video will get better over time. It tends to do that. And I don't have any of the articles up because I thought, oh, yeah, let's eat breakfast and do everything, and then we'll get ready to be presentable later. And that was a mistake. So let's see. We've got a smaller show for you today, and I just need to pull up some of these articles, which, as you all know, makes the computer upset. So what looks like 2 frames a second is going to get worse. And let me open the chat so I can see if you guys are working there. All right, now I need a window for these articles. So let's make a new one. All right. It's been a long week. A very, very long week. All right. Yeah, let's just start with those. It's a good start. Let's share screen. We will. No. We'll start with this one. And then you guys is the one that's low frame rate. All right, here we go. Here we go. Oh, that would explain that one. For some reason, my virtual Windows 11 computer decided to turn on. I didn't ask it to. You on the walk, baby? All right, you have to walk. Oh, be safe. Have fun. Where's your hat? It's still hot out. All right. So it's complaining that it can't connect to the camera, which is. Oh, I see what happened. I asked it to open up a reading link, and it opened in the virtual Windows 11 computer instead of in the browser I'm using. I wonder how I'm going to show that. All right, what I'll do is I'll just maximize the screen and then share that. All right, but first, yeah, I think either it will be or they're going to pull a Tesla and do the Model 3, Model Y situation where they'll have a R2S, and that one will have hopefully a bigger 7 and 6 seat than the one on the Model Y. Hopefully, but we will see. Uh, Eddie said for a moment I was in an 80s music video. Yeah, I don't know why it does that when I first turn it on, and that's the only reason I picked up just 3 articles to start with instead of the full list, because it would have been um, it would not have appreciated that. All right, so for those of you that rented a Tesla in the past from Hertz, and you notice that the experience was subpar compared to your own Tesla driving experience with the one that you or somebody that owns one that made you an authorized driver, um, because it was just a big dumb car. Like everything you had to do, use the key card for everything, and you couldn't, pre-cool it, pre-start it. You couldn't check on your charging, that sort of stuff. Well, Tesla has pushed out this update that we talked about a couple weeks ago to the entire Hertz fleet. So you don't have to worry about whether or not the car is up to date or find Wi-Fi and update the car to get it to work. You'll get in the rental, and I've got a Reddit post about this, so we'll talk about this and we'll read this person's experience. Um, so what will happen here is you get in and you'll be able to use the car as if it was your own up until you turn it in. As soon as you turn it in, it's gone. But it's not your car anyway, so that's to be expected. That is way better experience than previously. And it's actually kind of what Tesla promised ever since they came up with the idea of cloud profiles, even before they implemented them in the car. That hey, when you get a loaner from Tesla, if you ever couldn't get a loaner from Tesla, depending on your service center, that you'll get in and the car will just act as if your own as your own car does. The mirrors will be set, the seats will be set, your radio stations, your apps, everything will be just the way that it is on your car. It still isn't that way on the Tesla loaners. At the last check I made, but that dream, that utopia, that vision exists on Hertz. You get in the car, you scan a QR code with the Tesla app, and now you have phone key and phone control and monitoring and everything that you had in your car in the rental. Let me find that Reddit post. That Windows 11 computer moved my notes around. Okay, I found the notes, and then where did I put them? Clearly not where they belong. Sorry about this. I thought I put it someplace reasonable. Let me check on my phone. Maybe it didn't sync in. All right, so then we'll open up this app. Actually, Notes app is OneNote. We're loading in. Mm, no, not at all. All right, so what I will do real quick is go to Reddit and check it. I saw a lie about Tesla Semi come up across my screen and now it's gone. All right, so there's Reddit. And then I should be able to check my notifications because it was a reply to one of my posts. Da, da, da. See all. I don't care about the ones from today. I want the old stuff. Da, da. Sorry. Apparently, I have a lot more Reddit notifications than I realized. I only knew about the ones that came in the app. Let's type in Hertz in the. There we go. Much, much better. That was an experience. I guess I'm not as good at Reddit as I thought I was, which I knew I was like some sort of novice. Um, Here we go. So Redditor TrailMixALot says that we were talking to a guy who wanted to buy a Model Y and has a flip phone, and he knew that wasn't what Tesla had planned for. So he's asking exactly what might he expect, and so we were talking about that, and I don't know what caused me to point out that Hertz app access is now granted, and this guy was in disbelief. He's going to go. He wants to go again, and I pointed out that as we discussed a couple weeks ago, it was only on updated cars. And the other day, in a tweet, an X post, a Tesla said that all Hertz cars qualify. Scan the QR code in your app, and until seconds after you turn it in. But Trail Mix a Lot actually experienced it, and I just returned a Model 3 to Hertz. When you get in you scan a QR code at the bottom left of the screen. Then you just, at the bottom of the screen, you need the Tesla app and an account set up. So uh, this presumably would even work even if you don't own a Tesla. It just wouldn't sync in any seat profiles or anything because there wouldn't be any. However, anything you do set up and adjust after you've set up the app and saved a profile should sync back to your cloud profile so that when you do go on another test drive or buy a car, and the car can know it's you, so it assumes that the test drive cars will have the QR code as well, or at least when you buy a car and get in it for the first time, it will pull in all of your settings. So your mirrors will be set right, your seat will be set the way you like, temperature, all sorts of things. So anyway, uh, you need the Tesla app set up. It stays in your app until the key card is used again. So that part Tesla didn't make clear, but I'm glad that this person experienced it. So if you decide, oh, I don't want to get the phone in my pocket, or for some reason it doesn't connect, sometimes phone key isn't 100% for some people's phones. Uh, I haven't heard as many complaints about it in the last year, so apparently Tesla's done stuff to make it more robust. But if for whatever reason you tap that key card again, it's going to turn off this feature and you'll have to scan it again. Then it automatically disconnects from your phone. And then the same thing is when you turn in the car, it automatically disconnects from your phone. But perhaps it's even more simple. Is that when they're checking in your car, they're opening it to make sure that you cleaned it and everything, and they tap it. So it might not even be an automatic thing with the booking. It might just be that literally their process is they open the car and oh, that takes you out. But that's really cool to me. All right, so the next thing I want to do is I didn't tell the co-hosts how to get in here because I was coming in late. So bear with me a moment and I will send that out. And Robert, if you're listening, I still haven't read your messages yet. I apologize. The baby has been something else this week. Oh, that reminds me of something that went down. I had service on my Model X on Monday, and that there was no loaner, no Uber credits. We just sat in the service center from 9 o'clock until 6 o'clock. They I didn't bring my piece for show and tell. They replaced my. Oh, you know what? I took a picture of it. Stand by. It's probably for the better. It's all gritty and oily. All right. Text it to my brother. All right, there we go. So it turned out that my three-way valve for the radiator bypass had been, I don't know, deteriorated. It had a manufacturing defect, something. But I was well out of warranty, so manufacturing defect or not, there was nothing they were going to do for free with it. And let me switch back to something else. I can change screens. Let's share this tab instead. All right, so there's the back of that part. And so this valve had a sealing issue on one of the O-rings, and it kept causing my car to go low coolant. And the coolant on the Model X, at least my legacy Model X, is under vacuum. And so Mobile Tech can't just bring a jug of coolant and pour it in and call it a day. So, nor can I. And the vacuum machine doesn't fit in the Ranger vehicles, at least not the ones here in the Southeast. So I had to make a trip down to this one. I went to Savannah, and they replaced that part for considerably less than they had quoted me, but it's still, you can still notice it in the budget. It stung a little bit. They quoted me $2,000 for everything, and it ended up costing me right around $500 for the labor and the part. Not terrible for an all-day repair job, and it shouldn't have taken so long, except that I don't know, when they scheduled me, they had a different looking schedule than what actually showed up. I don't know if they had a certain amount of appointments they expected to not show, or if they had a lot of walk-ins, and it was just the staff was great, and the people in the waiting area were great. It's just you could just tell everybody was busy, and so thankfully Motoko was amazingly on her best behavior despite the length of time we were there. She didn't. I mean, she did some of the stuff the kids do, like just run around screaming, but not. She's having her little terrible twos early, and thankfully none of that came out. And now the car is no longer complaining about low coolant, and it's not failing to charge when I plug it in sometimes. That was something that was coming up, and the tech we had suggested that we put everything else that Tesla had put on the estimate on pause and see if perhaps maybe the low coolant was causing the car to just not charge because the charger was too hot, or um, the whole car was too hot, or the battery was too hot, or whatever. And it hasn't acted up yet. Although in the service portion of the MCU on the apps, the radiator bypass error is still there, and the coolant is still active. Both of those are still active, even though they refilled the coolant. And I'm holding in this picture. I'm holding the the radiator bypass valve. So I don't know if it needs to just kind of have more miles and hours on it to verify that that has been corrected, or if there was another level of reset that needed to be done that they didn't. I'm not sure. But the one on the MCU, the driver binnacle underneath the speedometer, that one went away. So as far as I'm concerned, it's okay. Just a little odd that it's still there in the service portion of the app. Anyway, so that was my service experience. So I sent that, and I need to send an email to the other portion of the group. This thing learned everybody's name is weird. Some of the people have different display names. If I type in their real name, it doesn't go. All right, there we go. And today's the 24th of September. And if you're wondering what the thumbnail for today's show is, I was at the North American International Auto Show years ago when the Model X was still a prototype. I don't think that was even a beta; it was a prototype because it still had the two-tone steering wheel. It had the uh, one half of the steering wheel was white, the other half was black, and instead of the scroll wheels that we had or that we have on the stock car, it had little mini touchscreens, and they would tell you like your following distance and your radio volume and the fan speed and whatever else you can control now with the scroll wheels on the legacy cars. It would actually show you the status of those items right there on the wheel. Um, that wasn't necessary. It was kind of cool, but it wasn't necessary. And I don't know how I didn't realize that the thing had the windshield it does until way later, when they stopped covering it with the for the quad squad. They stopped covering it with a wrap, and then I realized that it had a giant windshield, despite the fact that I'd sat in the car, I'd seen it, and I had photos of it showing the windshield going all the way up behind the driver. And it wasn't until uh, the beta, right when it was getting ready to go on sale, with the release candidates and everything, that I learned that it had or I won't say learned, but recognized that the thing had a giant windshield. I knew about the doors, but that might have been why, because the doors were so distracting back then. All right, let's send this. All right, come back to you guys. And let's see if. All right, so then the person with the flip phone said this is really helpful to know. Nope, that's not the OP. Somebody else said this is really helpful to know. Thanks. Close that. I'm gonna leave those notifications up because I've got some stuff to check out. All right, then we're gonna share this tab instead. Then I'll have to load some articles after this one. Sorry, returning my screen to the way it should be. Okay. So this article has an inflammatory headline. Some Tesla Model Y owners return to gas-powered SUVs and trucks report. Meanwhile, a small percentage of Model S owners switch to Lucid, Rivian, Mercedes-Benz offerings. And you'll see this quoted in other uh, places, and they'll make it seem like it's a big deal. And it's very much like that article or report that showed us that a certain amount of owners on both sides of the political spectrum were uh, leaving the brand on their next renewal, and they cited Elon Musk's mouth as one of their reasons for um, doing the switch. However, when you look deeper into the data, that was like a secondary reason. Like it's like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm a red-blooded American, and Elon Musk, he's not doing enough for us. Like, blah blah blah, and Bambi green cars. I'm getting a Ram. And then you've got on the other side, like you've got like AOC. I don't like what he said. I'm buying a Volkswagen, despite the fact that Volkswagen's got a storied, not that great history as well. Oh, what? All right, I'm having a critical low sugar event, despite the fact that I was um, elevated sugar before the show. So bear with me. Got some candy. Oh man, this is just one of the fun shows. Like just like how well can you improvise? I'm gonna throw all the curveballs at you. Oh, this is gonna taste delicious because I just brushed my teeth. And it's a citrus candy. Ugh. So anyway, as I was saying, so you've got people on both sides of the political spectrum that were citing that they didn't rebuy a Tesla for their next car because of Elon and stuff he says or the way he acts. And this is going to be in that same vein that when you look deeper into it, that it wasn't that many people, and and then it wasn't as big a deal as the headlines make it out to be. So in this case, let me find the part. Tesla Model Y has a 37.3% loyalty rate. Mustang Mach-E is in second at 18.5%. And 70.5% of Model Y owners buy another EV, regardless of who makes it. So they're making it seem like that 30% is a majority. Not that Inside EVs is doing that, but that's what the other places you'll see this headline are doing. Let's see. The rest of them defected gas-powered SUVs and trucks, said S&P. This is partially due to the large gulf in pricing between Model Y and Tesla's luxury EVs, Model S and Model X. Long range starts at 50,000 before taxes and fees. Tesla removed the lower price standard variant. We might have talked about this. We definitely talked about it on the Tesla Life show, where the Giga Texas Model Y is not currently for sale. So that brought the price up on the Model Y to 50 from slightly less than 50. Model S starts at 74, and the X is nearly 80. And Cybertruck, there was another bit of summary that was kind of cool about this. And so they're saying that the S and X owners might be leaving for other luxury EVs because the S and the X look pretty old now, but they're kind of classic too. While we were on that Monster Service Day, I took my family on a test ride in the Model X Plaid. And I still contend that from the outside, it doesn't look any different. And that unlike the Model S, which did get some dimensional changes from the pre-Palladium to the Palladium, the Plaid class. Model X, the doors are the same, the center of the roof is the same, and then as we discovered, the front and rear are now two-piece cast rather than all of the little pieces of metal welded together like you have on the Model 3's front end and the older vehicles. So all of that, like it looks like the same car from the outside, yes. And the other part of it for me was that all the like when Elon says, "Oh, FSD is great, it's amazing, it's mind blowing, blah blah blah," and then you're like, "Well, let's go try it out," and then you don't have that same experience, and you're like, "All right, Elon's just saying stuff again." That's how the Raven suspension felt to me when I took it for a test drive. It didn't feel substantially different from my legacy car's air suspension. And Tesla said that the Palladium cars retained the same suspension. So I didn't expect what we experienced when we went on that test drive. It wasn't a Plaid; it was just a long range. Like I could hear the bad roads, but I couldn't really feel them unless it was like something that bounced the whole car, or it was just a really bad bump. Like I didn't even feel most of the manhole covers, but some of the bad ones that you've got most of the manhole covers are either flush or downset by a little bit. One of them was up downset by like an inch and a half, 2 inches. I felt that one, but it wouldn't have felt it the same way that my car would if I'd hit it. And it's got I don't know if it's got the laminated glass on the sides or not. I didn't look at it close enough. But it's got more sound treatments than my car and the Raven do. And it was like we didn't have the radio on most of the time. It was nice. And then when we did turn the radio on, this car only had the free autopilot, not enhanced autopilot or FSD. So trying to overcome the car being stupid with stuff like not stopping at green lights or red lights rather, um, which I know normal cars don't do that, but mine does, and every other Tesla loaner I've had that had a functional autopilot system also had enhanced autopilot. So yeah, that was a change for me. But because of that, I wasn't able to correct the settings on the radio. They had whoever drove it before us had just stupid settings for the radio. So I just left it and just turned it up. Like, all right, that sounds good, and it did sound better than mine. It's got more speakers and more subwoofers and all that. But like if you gave it to me, yeah, I would take it. But or if something happened to mine, I would replace it with that. But it was hard for me to not say, hey, let's get a quote on seeing about trading mine in or whatever. But I held fast. But and they emailed later. I'm like, man, this is really nice. It's just I got a Cybertruck on the way eventually, whenever. So I don't want to have two cars at once to deal with. Um, new cars, taxes, payments, all that stuff. Just no. And it was. I like it. I like it a lot. I can't say that it's the same unchanged thing as my car. Like I knew the interior was different, but I have to say it was better than I had anticipated. Just because previously I'd sat in it, looked at it, but I didn't take it for a drive, and that we keep saying that again and again. Butts and seats sells cars, and that's still true even for somebody who actually owns a vehicle of the same that looks the same. I love that Bennett. Kacey ordered a 2026 Cybertruck in 2019. I did. Oh, that reminds me. this was going around on X, is that many folks, if you look in your Tesla account and look at your Cybertruck order, it no longer says which one you ordered and if you bought FSD. And also, if you got ordered it later, but still kind of early to the point where you could pick FSD or not, rather than just give me a truck or not, uh, those folks are in the same situation where it just says that you've reserved a Cybertruck. Mine is doing that as well. But some folks that were able to pick options, including FSD or not, later, theirs are still showing the configuration. So we don't know if that's a matter of these folks are on a different server than us, or maybe that means we're in the chute. We have no idea what it means. It's just a change that somebody noticed, and everybody went to go look at their accounts, and yeah, mine was affected. We'll see what becomes of that, but I'm excited for what that means. Like we talked about with Brian last week, Cybertruck is imminent for the delivery event, and I think we'll be excited to see if my prediction was correct or if his sources are good. But either way, it may be sooner than you expect. Yeah, so driving the X was fun, and some of these folks might have been in the same mindset as me, as hey, I've got a Model X. It looks the same. I'm moving on to the Lucid SUV or the Rivian R1S. Um, some folks have driven it and did like it, but they need the car in their driveway to look different than the old one, which clearly tells you they're not like Bentley buyers or Rolls Royces, because those things, man, they rarely change. But either way, that the age of the car is what we were getting at before we got sidetracked on that story. Is why the age of the model and the way it looks overall is why some of these folks switched in the pricier category. And remember, these are negligible numbers, but nonetheless, it's interesting to know where Tesla buyers head for shopping when they're not buying a Tesla again. On a larger scale, Austin headquartered brand continues to rule the roost, with nearly 60% of Model S owners purchasing another Tesla, while a whopping 72.8% of Model 3 owners returning to the brand. A lot of them buy Model Ys. Previous studies stated that 28.6% of Tesla buyers switched directly from legacy car makers like Honda and Toyota. And they said that the study is based on 12-month rolling data through June of 2023, and it might not be applicable to older buyers. Yeah, so basically, when you hear that, oh yeah, people are leaving Tesla in droves, going back to gas cars, um, at least as far as Tesla's concerned, I mean, it's a true statement, but it isn't exactly an accurate statement. For some of the other automakers, the folks who buy compliance cars, 100-mile range, no charging network, that sort of thing, it's much more true, but it's still not everyone. What you're finding there is the majority of those folks are going to a car after they are free of payments or taxes or whatever, and they're able to make a switch. What they're buying is a more capable EV. So they're going from a Nissan Leaf with a degraded battery to a Nissan Ariya to a Tesla to a Lucid to a Volkswagen to a Ford Mustang Mach-E. That's what most people are doing when they switch out of those compliance EVs. But yes, there is a larger portion of them that just go back to what they had before. I tried that once; it was terrible. Okay. Did you try another one? No, I don't even want to give it a chance. Okay, have fun with your gas bills. But the folks who want to give it another chance, they end up tending to like it, and that's pretty cool to see. Where was I going with that one? Yeah, like we saw with the Mustang, it's got pretty good retention. Not anywhere near as good as the Tesla. Oof. Shall we wait in the comments? Let's do it. So this person doesn't think the article explains anything. Either the article was updated after they read it, or their reading comprehension is low. S and X is the definition of overrated. Not surprised if the price drops significantly. Won't never happen with Mercedes S-Class, BMW 7 Series, Audi A8. Okay, whatever. If you say so. They have factory promotions and dealer promotions. It's a lot harder to hide those things with Tesla because they don't have dealers. Unless it's not a luxury car. That's a true statement. It's a premium car. Just because Tesla overcharges for it doesn't make it luxury or premium. Well, look at other premium cars, and it holds. It compares. After 2 gas car fires and stolen catalytic converters, no more gas cars. No car's perfect. No link to the study, no figure given for how many or what percentage of Model Y owners sell vehicles, or even if this includes Model Y owners who just keep their car and buy another vehicle. Yeah, that's be skeptical of these kind of stories, is what I'm saying. Maybe not to the same extent this guy is. This could be only 1% of Model Y owners sell their vehicle, and of those, only 30% return to a gas vehicle for all we know, which would represent 0.3 Model Y owners. Maybe. All right, so now we're going to load up some of the other articles. Oh, wait, no, we're not. We're going to go back to the virtual machine and share it instead. Screen, window, this one. Okay, there we go. America passed the EV tipping point, but many buyers still want gas. So ignore the second part because it doesn't matter. The article points out a bunch of good things, like look at Norway, and they explain what the tipping point is. U.S. hesitation could hinder that. Once the EV sales cost 5% of new sales, they generally take over. So in this case, I'm reading hinder is just slow it, not stop it. As a theoretical magic tipping point for the adoption of electric vehicles, once somewhere between 5 and 10% of new car sales are all electric, some researchers say that huge numbers of drivers will follow. They predict the electric car sales will then soar 25 to 50%, and eventually close to 80% of new sales. And we've seen it in Norway. They talk about that later in the article. Here's a reading link for Microsoft Edge. It's a Washington Post article, and I'm not a subscriber. Mainly out of, I don't know what you call it, but at some point they said that if you were a Prime subscriber, you would get free Washington Post, and that never happened for me. So I don't want to subscribe to the Washington Post just out of that pettiness, spite. I don't know. So there's a reading link for Microsoft Edge, and you can convert it back to a real URL if you want. Eddie said years ago, I heard that hybrid owners didn't go for hybrids as their next car. Rubbish. That's true, yeah. Most hybrid owners kept going hybrid, or they went from hybrid to EV, depending on when in time their purchase was. If EVs were available then, that's where they went. If it wasn't, they went to another hybrid or a plug-in hybrid. So you gotta be careful with these studies. They're trying to steer you. Outrage, or see, I was right. Those things aren't going to work out. But so look at Norway, look at Europe. When you get to the 5% mark, all of a sudden EVs take off. We never really did get there with hybrids before EVs came out, because like if you watch this on What Drives the Show or my previous show, Go Hybrid, like on a podcast, like we were happy they got to 50%. Oh, they got to 1%. Oh, they're at 2%. And those were big numbers, but they just never really did take off before the EV came out. Now everybody's got hybrids. Some of them aren't even labeled hybrids, but they are. This will be exciting to watch. And those people clinging to gas, well, they have until 2030, 2040, 2035, depending on where they are. And then after that, they'll only be able to buy used cars from now on. All around the world. Saudi Arabia is 2060, the latest one in the world. Everybody else has got some kind of cutoff date. Even the ones that don't have one, once all the factories have switched over to making EVs only, it doesn't matter that someplace in the middle of Africa or the corner of Asia doesn't have a mandate, because nobody will be making the gas cars. And despite any of the politics and rhetoric about, oh, they're coming to take your gas car and your gas stove, they're not. If you've got one and you choose to keep using it despite all of the issues with it, that's on you. Like we've discussed, brand new gas stoves, fresh out of the box, leak poisonous chemicals into your home when they're off. And when they're on, it's worse, because now you're burning something inside your home. If you have a good ventilation system, it can have a negligible impact. But some people say, oh, I can see the flame. I can cook better with this because I can control it. For those folks, Samsung makes an induction stove that has a blue ring that lights up, and you can gauge it by looking at it rather than memorizing, oh, I need a 6 for this and a 2 for that. And just like a gas stove, turning an induction up and down immediately changes the effect on what's going on. If you have the electric coil EQ or the red eye garbage, you can pick the pan up off of the surface, which, if you have a 3-gallon stew, that's not quite so fun. But if it's something you're like sauteing or whatever, then just pick it up off of the curly cues or off of the red eye, and it'll work. But it says those fake stove vents that just blow air around are a plague. Yes, we've got that in my house. There is a vent with a metal filter, and you turn it on, and it blows air in your face. Thankfully, while this is a natural gas neighborhood, methane farm, that only really includes our furnaces and water heaters. So they didn't include the stove. So we've got that red eye garbage. At some point, I'd plan to replace it with an induction. And if you've got something that's got a lot of odors, or maybe you get something towards the edge of burning, it just blows it in your face. It doesn't do anything for the smell. It doesn't do any of that. And so basically, when I get the HVAC changed out, I'll have to get in a proper, because in South Carolina, only the HVAC people are allowed to install the, at least according to the folks that I've spoken with so far, only the HVAC people are allowed to install a proper extraction hood. Well, not hood, but the ducting, the vent that goes up through the structure. I'm guessing that there's a reason for that. Probably a bunch of handy specials that didn't use the correct materials. Hot grease gets in there, whoosh, and then the house is on fire. So I get it. I don't like it, but I get it. And since my air conditioner is on its last legs anyway, maybe next year we'll get that put in. One thing I learned from one of the appliance sales places is that you can get some of the fancy ones that like have a downspout or whatever. But one thing that a lot of folks neglect when they add an extraction hood, especially if it's on a more energy efficient home, they don't always make sure that there's a return for fresh air to replace what you've sucked out of the house. Ours isn't that efficient, but what we'll also get them to do is install a fresh air return to pull air in from outside to replace the what left the kitchen, so that there's not a vacuum in the house. Also, without the fan has to work too hard, and you don't get it all because The with the negative pressure inside the house, it's just not able to work as efficiently. Yeah, exactly. Why is the smoke not leaving? That's what I'm trying to articulate there. To actually get the smoke out, it needs to be replaced with something. You can pull on it all you want, and if you don't have a good enough fan, it's not getting out if there's not enough fresh air to replace it. And the reason that this didn't used to be a thing is that our houses used to be very leaky. So you could just have a fan and it would just pull it from around your windows, from around your door, from the attic, and you didn't have to think about it because your house was leaky anyway. So yeah, so if you do have a gas stove and you have one of them stupid vents, you need to get it replaced with a real one for your safety, for your family, and don't hesitate. And yes, it's going to be expensive because you'll have, at least if you're in South Carolina, because you'll have to get an HVAC company to do it. It's a little easier if your kitchen is on an exterior wall because you go through the wall instead of up through the structure, or up and around and then through the structure, depending on how your house is built. Um, and that doesn't say that just because you don't burn anything in the house doesn't mean that that cooking is free from all of those concerns. An electric stove, an induction stove, or the red eye, all of them can still make compounds when you heat up what you're cooking. So it's just less of the gas combustion components. Like if you burn your food, or depending on what you're cooking, if you cook it too hot, or you still want to get a lot of that, especially if you're cooking animal flesh. You still want to get most of that out of the house. Yes, it smells good, but it's not good to just kind of let that just sit. Did she go to sleep? All right, Mother's taking a nap. Went on a walk, came back asleep. So anyway, that is. Oh wait, no. So that what got us onto that was the Chicken Littles claiming that the government's coming to get your gas stove, coming to get your gas car. They're not. They're coming to get your gas equipment. They might be in like California. I didn't read to see how it's structured, but typically these bans, they just stop you from getting new ones of whatever they want to stop. They don't typically say, "Oh, you can't use your 50-year-old lawnmower anymore." Uh, Most people don't do proper maintenance on their equipment to keep a 50-year-old lawnmower. I was watching an expose, which is just kind of weird because not that I was watching an expose, but because it was about Briggs and Stratton motors for lawnmowers and stuff. So the weird part was that I have been on electric lawn equipment for at least 7 years now. Anyway, I've been on electric lawn equipment for long enough that I shouldn't have bothered wasting my time watching a small engine repair shop's video. But the Briggs and Stratton had or has not forever filter. What do they call it? Forever oil. You never change the oil. You just add some and change the filters. This mechanic, I guess she's more than a mechanic, but the proprietor of the shop, she brought some in that were in for other reasons. So she took the filter out, showed you this filter is disgusting, and then she got the oil out and was like, "Look, this oil is gross. Even if you maintained it the way that the manufacturer was saying to maintain it, it wasn't going to hold up for very long." And then she showed a couple ones that are set up for user maintenance, and they just didn't do it. And she suggested that because they didn't do it, the manufacturer just said, we could save on making this thing repairable since nobody's going to repair it anyway, and to just eliminate that and make it sound like a benefit. And so she showed how all these different as a regular American that the small engines, like especially the leaf blower, puts out more air pollution than a 25-year-old Toyota Camry idling for an hour. Wait, I said that wrong. Using one then for an hour puts out more energy than idling an old Camry for it was over 24 hours. So if you just turned on the camera and just left it and somehow it didn't get stolen, that hour of leaf blowing was worse than not a modern clean car. Not saying the Camry is dirty. It's just somebody would say, "Oh yeah, you're comparing it to the latest and greatest in automotive technology. They cost tens of thousands of dollars. Of course, they can be cleaner." Talking about a 20-year-old car, it's got oil changes and stuff. It's just, yeah. Anyway, we saw that. Was it last week? Week before? It was definitely not last week. It was within a month. We saw the young man who was running his lawn care business off of a solar trailer. There are ways, and obviously his solar trailer won't do some of the large properties. It's just not made for everybody yet. We wasted decades on R&D into electric everything, electric cars, electric lawn. So anyway, in the case of that guy with the solar lawn trailer, you could have a bigger trailer. You could have more batteries. There are ways to do this that still don't hit 100%, but that hit more and more folks. And as we talked about the comment about how when the guy parks his trailer and opens it up and it starts collecting sun, it's collecting sun while he drives down the road to the next client too. But as he sits down, and opens everything up, uh, about how nobody's going to give him free gas while he is out there cutting grass. Those kind of economics, especially for somebody who's already got the equipment, which isn't a lot of people. Somebody who's already got the equipment to do the solar and the recharging, or at least maybe you've already got a battery laying around, or you could recycle some of these batteries. We're talking about how we talked about with the Nissan Leaf, you could take some of the used cells and make a battery pack out of them. So some of these smaller to medium sized lawn care companies, they could go electric even if they don't think they can. They can do the math and find out, oh, this is working out. We're not doing oil changes anymore. We're not wasting money on filters. And we bought the right amount of rechargeable batteries, so they're just in cycle while we're out there working. And that's just one industry. And the same sort of situation is going to happen there as we see with cars. And no, the number is not going to be 5%. It's going to be much higher before it's a runaway. But look at how many of your neighbors have an electric leaf blower or an electric hedge trimmer or something like that. It's not where it was 10 years ago. It's up there. And the same thing that we're going to see that happen with cars in America. It's going to take you by surprise. It's like the frog boiling thing, except for the frog boiling study is also not quoted correctly. That one, they lobotomized the frogs before they did the boiling. Closing down this virtual machine so I get some cycles back. Shut down. Okay, now we'll load up some of the next articles and we'll get back to it. All right, so we've got an X post, not in the window that we're looking at. Stupid computer. I wonder if perhaps I closed the window. Is that what's going on here? I want to share this tab instead. I want to view. Oh, that's why it's over here. Okay, so I need to move this back here. Back here. And then click here. And then open the article again. It's not an article, it's an X post. Then this one was pretty cool. That one was overdue. This one was neat. This one was, oh my goodness. Uh, this one was fun. Okay, so we want the X post now. Share this tab instead. All right, so this is the post from Tesla Energy, reposting Stanbush staffing. Tesla Electric Powerwall, Tesla Electric, so the Tesla Electric company, the customers who Tesla is their power company. Powerwall customers supported the Texas grid through multiple summer heat waves, and many reversed their electric bills. And then they have a link to sign up for the Tesla Electric company. So Stanbush Staffing says a $649.71 credit. My Tesla electric bill is negative $649.71. That's right. My bill is zero, and I have a $649.71 credit. Thank you, Tesla Energy. I'm not sure who PUTEX is. Drew Baglino, Arushi SF, and Musk, and so many others for working for energy security. So then he shows his bills. He had a $21 credit in June, $124 credit in July, and almost $700 credit in August. And the way that Tesla Energy talks about it, so they're not credits like they are with my insurance, my electric company. They're checks. You get checks back or deposits, and that's pretty cool. All right, it's an absolute no-brainer to install Tesla Powerwalls, if applicable, at your residence, especially combined with solar roof, next level efficiency, and power supply security. So if you look at our friend Patrick at carsrecords.net, he's got all kinds of charts and graphs and literal recordings of his experience with his utility. And I don't know if they write checks back or just to the point where it's made it affordable for him being in part of their power sharing program. This guy had a $400 credit. Not bad. I'm not seeing it in this chart, but he's also not showing the August like the other person did. So, or at least the screenshot's not. Let's see. There it is. The screenshot was cut for some reason. So $400 credit. Not bad. All right, moving on. I want to be on this place that spends an hour on tweets. We'll share this tab instead. Look at that! Welcome to the social, the Supercharger Next coalition. Jaguar signs on with Tesla to adopt the electric vehicle charging standard. And no, they're not signing on with Tesla for the standard. They're signing on with Tesla for the superchargers. And they did the same thing that a lot of these later entrants are doing. They're just straight up talking about 2025. Let's see, how did it go? All new Jaguars sold in North America region will have full access to Tesla supercharger network starting in 2025 without the need for an adapter, the company said in a press release. They'll also source adapters from Tesla and support the supply of them to iPace drivers once they are available. So the iPace is going to be like the Bolt as far as being able to actually take down a charge from a supercharger. A supercharger V1 with no updates, 90 kilowatts can put more power out than a Bolt can take in. I don't know that they'll be that bad with the iPace, but it's not known for being able to suck down the juice. Let's see. And that was the important part, really. You will be assimilated. Resistance is futile. Has BMW signed up yet? I saw an i4. It's not as bad nor as big as I thought it would be. So there aren't very many companies left. In fact, we probably should just start a chart of who hasn't joined the Nax coalition. And we'll have to have two columns for it. One for the folks that have said that we're looking into it, we're thinking about it, and then another for the folks that haven't said anything. And this is one I opened on my phone on another provider that I didn't read yet, so it didn't make it into the notes. But let's look at it. Redwood Materials acquires lithium-ion battery recycler in Europe. So now Redwood's not just operating in North America; they're operating in Europe as well. We're expanding in Europe and have acquired leading EU battery recycler Redux Recycling. This acquisition gives us an immediate EU presence to quickly grow our operations. 70 experienced technical staff who will join our team, and many new partners. There you go. So this report is interesting right here. I hit the wrong button. Share screen. This one. Go. All right, so car thieves avoid the Tesla Model 3 and Model Y. Who'd have thunk it? A car with no keyholes or easy ways to kind of break in without detection that tracks you and records your face. Who would want to steal that? And certain things came out like that the Model Y, sorry, Model Y, the Model 3 rear wheel drive was more stolen than the all wheel drives, and 3 and Y were more stolen than the S and the X. And most of them were recovered. Let's see how this article points it out. Untracked thieves. Oh, and then the other report that I was listening to pointed out the numbers for the rest of the industry of same years versus the Teslas, and it was substantial. Zach says, I'm driving my friend's Audi SUV from Florida to Chicago. I forgot to house Paul out. I'm sure that's an autocorrect or a voice to text. Um, there we go. I forgot how terrible gas competitors are compared to Tesla. Yes, I agree. I had a rental car, um, BMW, something newer than my Model S, when my Model S was in the body shop after the repeated collisions with the semi truck. Uh, and it was so bad, I took it home, parked it, and got in my Volt until it was time to return the thing. On the last day, I drove it with the top down just because it'd been a long time since I was in a convertible, so why not? So I drove it with the top down, took it back to them. Here, take your garbage back. Give me my gas money. And we'd already agreed on them giving me the gas money back because solar power, free supercharging. Why would I pay for gas, right? So they begrudgingly said, keep your receipts. And I did. My goodness. Thank you, Zach. Thank you for the great work you do. I appreciate it. Okay, so despite being known for luxury, advanced technology, and high price tags, 3 and Y have an unexpected advantage. I was hoping this one would break it down like the article that I heard. It's not the price that makes them less attractive to thieves. It's the security features and the technology that Tesla packs in the vehicles. Let's see. Got Sentry mode, and then all the stuff I said about how you get the phone key, the no keyholes, nothing to hotwire. GPS tracking. This was a lot thinner of an article. It was long, but a lot thinner of an article than the one I heard on the radio. Not radio, but what was it? I think it was just like in somebody else's news program. Like it didn't compare it against the Model S and the X or the rear-wheel drive versus the all-wheel drive. And I wish I remember where I heard it because I could just source them, but I didn't. I apologize. But that's why that one wasn't in the list. I think. Watch it be in the list with the correct source. It's been a long week. So if your power provider is SDG&E in San Diego, you can now qualify for the virtual power plant program as well, assuming that you have or buy power walls and get them installed, of course. So they announced last month they started their own virtual power plant program, which will leverage household battery backups and smart devices to reduce demand and increase supply of electricity to the grid during demand response events. Tesla's program is separate from SDE&G, even though it's part of the same service area. A home or business with access to energy storage might want to leverage that storage by buying electricity while it's cheap and discharging it to the grid while it's very expensive. While this is possible on a home-to-home basis, arbitraging cheap off-peak energy and using it during on-peak times isn't really great for widespread grid events unless several home storage systems can be joined together. That goes on to explain what virtual power plant is and can do, and the growth of the Tesla virtual power plant program. In a year, you could earn about $224 for this particular person on the screen. It's not bad. It could pay for itself. And not through savings, but through cash. All right, let's see what the comments say about this one. Some people say, oh, solar is only for the rich who can afford the initial upfront costs. I say the poor should be the first to look into solar. Yes, but there's a balance there, unfortunately. My electric bill used to be $300 a month before solar. I got 11.2 kilowatts of Tesla solar and 2 power walls. Financed the thing for $0 down. My monthly payment is now $266, and it won't go up with electricity price increases. Maybe. It depends on how much electricity you use and the weather. Like my system is like 7 and change kilowatts, but 5 and change nominal. My inverters are smaller than my panels. And my electric bill went up substantially, but not as bad as my neighbors. I guess I could just add more panels, but the power company was already yelling at me to take some off. So I can put some off-grid panels and screw them. Ha. Funny how many people in here are upset about people being able to use their home equipment to do exactly the same things that energy generation companies do. How dare individuals think they have the right to earn money like companies? Yeah, I'll give you that one. All right, let's see. Next, we're going to talk about. Oh, yeah, this one was nice. Hyundai is giving free level 2 chargers for new Ioniq and Kona EVs. And obviously, they're not chargers because the chargers are on the car, they're EVSEs, but home charging equipment. The offer is valid for new Ioniq 5, 6, or Kona electric purchases, leases, or leases, and includes a $600 installation credit. Huh. So if they just gave you the installation credit, I would have made money on my charging system installation. I got lucky. The panel and the charger are this far apart. Oh, it could have been super expensive. I know some folks firsthand who their charging equipment installation bills were substantial because like the panel is down in the basement on the corner, the driveway or garage is all the way on the other side of the house, and copper's not cheap. Um, so here's how it works: you buy or lease your car September through October. See, this is what I'm talking about. You know, the legacies they have cashback programs. It's not just Tesla. This is the ChargePoint one, so it's got the Hyundai brand on it, ChargePoint brand on it. You would think they could do that longer since it's co-branding, but it's probably just a thing to help push more sales. Receive an email from Hyundai Finance with a coupon code for 7 to 10 days after the lease or purchase. So you got to finance this car. You can't pay cash or use somebody else's money to get it. Oh, okay. It says right there in the headline when leasing or financing through Hyundai Motor Finance. So you got to pick Hyundai Motor Finance as your bank. A lease, that's easy, but on a purchase, I wonder if there's an early payment penalty or something to that effect that you get around it. Get a 2-month loan with them, get the free charger, and then pay it off. Go to Hyundai Home Marketplace to enter coupon code received and up to $600 off installation. Installation must be scheduled within 90 days of the lease or purchase. Work with an energy advisor to order the installation process. All right, here's the fine print. Available on new cars between 9/21 and 10/31. Must take delivery of new retail stock, so you can't do a custom order. And execute lease or purchase by 10/31. Not available in AK. Customers will receive a coupon code. I wish I could highlight this. Receive a coupon code and up to $600 credit. Okay, so now you can't make it take advantage of it. It's up to $600 credit. Installation through Hyundai Home is required to receive the charger. Installation must be scheduled through the marketplace within 90 days. Installation conducted by third-party electrician sourced through Hyundai Home, contracted by customers. Coupon code is non-transferable and not available for cash. Or not, what? Non-transferable and not available for cash. That's one way to put it. Initial deposit required and additional costs may apply. Installation available on select residential property only. So don't do this for your business. Got to be at home. Eligible vehicles available at select retailers in some states, or in select states, in limited quantities. See your Hyundai dealer and this link for terms and conditions. I'm still wondering if you can get it and pay the car off. But I don't want to go to the link and look it up. I got to type the link in by hand. Korean automakers marketplace allows buyers to arrange purchase of solar panels and home energy storage systems with Electrum, an online home electrification solutions provider chosen as the company's partner. I'm wondering. ChargePoint Flex Level 2 can deliver between 16 and 50 amps to an EV. That's not bad, 50. 3 variants, hardwired with NEMA 650 or NEMA 1450. We're focused on a wide range of high-quality EVs. Curious what the comments are. Maybe somebody's done the math on what I was curious about. Customers who purchase, this appears to be wrong, must finance. Cash buyers are not included. No, that's right. Toyota will take Tesla to the cleaners in time because Tesla have a fan club of closed shop thinkers who can't see that taking away basic driver controls, cost reduction, profit boosting will put people off markets outside of America in particular. Okay, whatever. We'll see when those numbers play out, Mr. Ryan. Charging installation program, the GM and Chevy Bolt seems quite popular and eased the minds of many folks. There's a $1,000 installation credit that would cover most simple installations, but you would have to pay more if your installation was complex. Long runs, many walls, insufficient breaker space, etc. Yeah, I've ran into that with some Tesla owners as well, and not just Tesla owners. Nice perk. Yeah. Not good enough to enable vehicle to load or vehicle to grid, but better than kicking a butt. These cars don't offer vehicle to load or vehicle to grid through the charger. They do offer an adapter that you can run a load directly next to the car, but not that you try to run the whole house off of the onboard charger. So I can't even see that as a valid complaint or criticism because Hyundai's trying to sell the cars they have now. They don't care about the car of the future right now. So getting a charger that had functionality that their cars don't support, while it would allow future proofing, they have no incentive to do that, nor would it be in their interest to have the higher costs involved with supporting that. And again, with the vehicle to load part, you could end up overloading their system. So why give the customers a chance to bother your support staff and your warranty claims? So if you're in the market for a Hyundai or Kia, or sorry, a Kona, go ahead and hook them up. It's interesting they did the oh, it's still Hyundai. Hyundai is it Hyundai Kona, not the Kia. I don't know why I keep thinking probably the BLK is what I think it's a Kia. So that makes sense. So basically all the EVs that Hyundai sells today. All right, we'll share this tab instead. New Tesla Model 3 performance appears in the European certification documents, hinting at upgraded performance. And some folks are speculating that it's a tri-motor because whatever digit of the VIN is a T, and on the Palladium cars, that T means tri-motor. But looks like Tesla either just wants it to mean performance or what other documentation there is about the VIN decoder that says it's a dual motor might need updating later to say a tri-motor, but that's pretty cool. There was a piece written on LinkedIn by one of the designers of the Model 3, or the current Model 3, who went into great detail to explain why they went with the single piece taillights that lift up with the trunk lid. And it was because people keep complaining about panel gaps and such. And so he went into great detail to explain about how this helps with panel gaps and how there's consistency with this line and that line and how they did the same thing to the front of the car. I didn't like it because I don't know why I didn't like it, but I didn't. But I'm telling you about it now. All right, so right here it says T, dual motor performance on the VIN decoder for the new Model 3. Okay, so I didn't read this article. I heard somebody else talking about it, and that's how I knew these. So they break that down as well. Pretty cool stuff. Oh, sorry guys, I didn't see the chat was scrolling over there. I saw it flickering over here, but this one in the streamer stopped scrolling. So creative working on an interesting sounding project, and Zach is asking, do they still have the problem or it can be stolen very easily. Um, I think that they've been working on it because I noticed they stopped on the loaner cars. They stopped putting in pin to drive, so Tesla must be more comfortable with it than they were in the past. I mean, everything can be stolen, but the question is there an easier target right next door, like a Hyundai or Kia without an interlock in the ignition? I don't get how the guesses extrapolate 800 horsepower tri-motor from a less than 500 horsepower dual motor. I agree. That's why I don't try to do too much of the pure speculation stuff, just because we just wait a little while and we'll find out for real. But one of the things I saw put out there is that since the Model 3 weighs at least 1,000 pounds less than the Model X, not X, the Model S, um, you won't need as much power to get as much performance out of it as far as straight line performance. And then since it is lighter, it should be easier to push in twisties. And just because Tesla doesn't want to invest anything more into the S and X that they can't use elsewhere doesn't mean that they want to cancel it just yet. As long as the thing is making money for them, you do want to keep some separation between the Model 3 and the Model S because the S is more profitable than the Model 3 for Tesla. As soon as that stops being true, or it's time to put a major investment in the Model S, like say for new safety standards, or maybe because the sales have completely fallen off, if it's not enough to keep the income they're used to seeing at a reasonable expense, they will just cancel the S and the X. Um, Cybertruck could fill that Halo role. They could just actually make the Roadster come out at that point. That could fill the Halo role. Elon was on record of saying that they don't need to make the S and the X. And if you look at the numbers, that like we do on the Tesla Live show every quarter, the S and X are candy for Tesla. They're dessert. It's 2,000 a week, 100,000 a year, compared to the million plus that they're doing on everything else. It's going to be 2 million this year as far as run rate. 100,000. I mean, it's noticeable, but it's not their moneymaker. Mm, I wonder if the Model 3 performance becomes more profitable than the Model S with any cheaper construction. Yeah, absolutely. That certainly could happen, and I think that when that happens, it will further skew that algebra on when and what to do with Model S and X in the future. The reprieve I see coming from Model X is that it's got a true 7-seat option that can fit adults comfortably in the rear seats. And now that the Cybertruck is only going to be a 5-seat instead of a 6-seat, it's not like you can say, oh, well, it's only a 1-seat difference between them. But the Model Y 7-seat is based on something you're already cranking out millions of copies a year. You've got the giga castings for it and everything. I don't know when or how, but I mean, it just doesn't look like these cars have a future. That doesn't mean that they won't. It just don't be surprised if they don't. No, I'd love to see them do not say a Model S next. Because look at the Palladium. It's a new car compared to even the Raven. What I suspect we'll see if they want to keep the S and the X up is hopefully not another year without them. But what I suspect we'll see is they'll leverage the Model 3 and Y technology for a bigger car. a bigger car that they can charge more for, but they'll do a clean slate. They'll make this new car straight from the learnings from the Model Y and Model 3. They might even make it look the same on the outside because they clearly have no problem with that. But I don't think they'll do that. Um, but make this new car instead of basing it on the S and X and then just kind of tweaking. We see them come up with a clean cloth, high volume executive car, and a large SUV or large crossover. Hopefully, it's an SUV, not a crossover. Um, that they can be profitable on at volume. That's the only way I see the S and the X staying around long term, past when these little tiny tweaks here and there are able to sustain it. Is if they keep it up, they do a whole new one that they can justify to the shareholders. What's up, Timothy? Greetings from Arizona. Creator says they've never been a good salesman. Well, I mean, your project sounds interesting, so um, as you get along with it, I'd be interested to see more. All right, so that is the S and the. Sorry, no, that was. I just went back a few minutes. I was thinking about the theft rates. This is the Model 3 performance in GAN's European certification documents. This one, I love the headline. Lexus humbly looks to Tesla to compete in the EV era. I agree. What kind of joke is that? Oh, Lexus is no competition for Tesla anytime soon. They aren't even on the map. They're not competing with Hyundai. They're not competing with Mini. They're not competing with Smart. They're not competing with Fiat. Lexus is a startup in this thing, in the EV realm. I mean, they have the engineering and the smarts and the ability to do it, but they have a lot more talk than there's a lot more put up than shut up. Or put up or shut up. They're doing a lot more talk than actual execution. And Lexus and Toyota have done nothing but talk for decades now, and they need to put up or shut up. Nobody believes it. The same way that we don't believe that FSD is coming the way that Elon thinks it is this year. I mean, it may be this year, and it may be great, but and I'm hoping that Elon's right. But the same way that we've heard the same stories year and year again from Elon, we've heard the same stuff over and over again from Hyundai. I keep saying Hyundai, from Toyota and Lexus about how they're going to be great, how they're going to be the leaders in EVs, and how we have the self-charging EV, which is really a hybrid that doesn't have a plug. And we don't believe you, Toyota and Lexus. We don't believe you. Um, you did all this talk and you came out with the Toyota BZ4X and the Lexus RZ whatever, um, and the Subaru Solterra. They are competent cars in a way, except you can't charge them below freezing. And they would have been great 10 years ago, but they are not competitive in 2024, 2023. So if you're looking to compete with Tesla, how about you look a little bit to the bracket above you? Go for say there's 20 entrants in this race. You need to look at number 18 and number 19 and compete with them first, and then work your way up the chain. We hear this year and year again about all these Tesla killers, and then what happens? The whole company goes under. So, I mean, would you get that, or would you get a Cadillac Lyric? Would you get that, or would you get a Model Y? Would you get that, or would you get the Bolt EUV? I mean, yes, it does look better than some of the ones I mentioned, but knowing that you can't charge it if it's freezing out, knowing that your range for dollar is just like stupid. Knowing that you don't have a frunk. A lot of those cars do have some kind of frunk. This one has none. I don't. If you buy this car and it suits you, that is fine for you. But as a company, that is disgusting. That is a phone in. That is like we slapped together a Rav4 and shoved in a bunch of electric stuff. Um, yes. That's a lot of talk I'm hearing right now from Toyota and Lexus. Let's move on from this. Let's go back to more tweets. All right, so this is the one I talked about with the Cybertruck. I didn't realize I put it in the article. um, all right, this one's fun. Let me pause it real quick. And then when I make it bigger, we'll have to mute the music. How do I do that? As I click it, it's going to go full screen, and I want to go full screen in the window so you guys can see it. I'll share this tab instead. Make it bigger and hit mute real quick. It's still paused. There you go. So Tesla put this video out recently, and
playing top result.
What? No, I'm gonna mute myself real quick. Stupid freaking smart speaker. I changed the wake word because I was tired of people pranking it, and I didn't even say anything that sounded like its name, and it starts playing copyrighted stuff on me. All right, so what I was doing there before the interruption by Amazon was seeing when they made this post. Yesterday evening. All right, so this is why I tempered what I said about Elon and self-driving version 12. You'll see in a second. Bennett says not having a usable frunk is inexcusable unless Aptera-sized. Yeah. The only way I can understand it, aside from something like the Aptera, is if they don't do clean sheet and they use a gas car and is really, really cheap, like super affordable, to the point where repackaging everything to fit with some kind of frunk, even if it's one of them little only holds the charge cord or today's documents for court. The only reason I can see even being that, not even being that bad, but not having a frunk is say you bring out a car for 15,000 or 20,000 or something super affordable, and you had to cut enough corners to make it affordable. Tempering that, because anytime you create a gas car into an EV, it's never, not only is it never good, but it's also never actually affordable like that. But say you found a way to make it work. Maybe you're using a frame that you designed like 50 years ago and you can keep using it, somehow it passes crash tests. But the only way to package it leaves no frunk. I could go for that, having no frunk. Or like a cab over, like the old VW bus. I don't even forgive it for the Tesla Semi, because the prototype and the beta, they had frunks, and now it doesn't. And I'm hoping that by the time it comes around for owner operators, that the frunk has returned, because there's room for it. Tesla, you know how to make a frunk. There's no excuse for your largest vehicle having no frunk. I mean, I'm sure you could name some excuses, but in the mind of the consumer, the mind of the public. That should have a frunk. Yeah, exactly. Like if ID3 were 20,000 or 20,000 with Honda, yeah, that would make sense. Or if, like, for some reason it's like physically impossible because the driver's sitting where the frunk would be, like a city transit bus. Um, but again, even there, you could have a front drawer or like a front flip up, like the semi prototype had that little flip up underneath the driver. I'm just I'm just not seeing why you think that no front would be okay. Um, the only other place it would be okay would be like something like Robotaxi. But even then, with Robotaxi, having more storage could be useful, especially if you are going to use it instead of a car, like not own a car. All right, so back to this. Optimus is now capable of self-calibrating its arms and legs. Oh, the music that they used is from Deus Ex Machina, and once I realized that from the people who found the song, uh, the Deus Ex Machina soundtrack, it was even more funny. But here we go. Optimus is now capable of self-calibrating his arms and legs. Using vision only and joint positioning coders, it can precisely locate its limbs in space. Accurately calibrated, Optimus learns various tasks more efficiently. Its neural net runs entirely on board using only vision. For example, it can sort these blocks by color fully autonomously. And it does so while dealing with the dynamic of reality of our real world. Like, look at this. That's not a bad speed. And I think they sped it up 2x, but still that's not a bad speed. And Optimus also demonstrates autonomous corrective action capabilities. So put the block in sideways, turns it over. And that's not bad. For first time going vision only, after a long day of work, it's time to stretch. Namaste. Right, so some of the messages are popping and disappearing, but that's fine. All right, so we'll close this down. And so if the car can basically match what it took the people decades to program into our FSD Beta 11, if you can basically match that just through pure vision and machine learning and self training, that that is really cool. And then if they could then apply that same model to the robot and get similar level of like step improvements, that's really cool. And that's why I kind of hedged it when I said that, that we could see FSD this year, but I'm not holding my breath for it because we've heard it year in, year out. But here you can actually see a path towards it. I don't know about like level 4 or 5 or whatever Elon said, especially given that you'll have to get that certified with the government and insurance companies and on and on and on. But if we can actually just see a step improvement, and if, like Elon said, removing hundreds of thousands of lines of code, and that is impressive. I mean, it may not feel any different than version 11, but if it's been able to do that in one step, that's impressive. Okay, it's a Starbase. Starbase is pretty cool. And America is lucky. I mean, we are blessed, but we are squandering it. And with that, that's everything I had in the notebook. So, like I said, short show. I want to thank all of you for your time here today, and I want to thank Zachary and our channel members for your guys' financial support of the channel, because it really does help to offset all the different things that you'd be surprised come up out of the woodworks to keep this thing online. And I'll catch you all on the flip side. We'll see you on Wednesday on the Tesla Life show, and then we'll be back here again on Sunday at 1:10 p.m. Eastern. And based on the stuff I've pulled up in my phone but haven't put in the notebook, it might be an exciting week. Bennett says bye-bye. Carter says thanks, nice stream. Moto would say goodbye, but she is just passed out napping like this. Oh, I woke her up. All right, so now I really got to go. Catch you on the flip side.